Hello, folks. I've been playing around with No Mind. I am able to shut off my mind, basically, um, conscience and everything, basically, and just have nothing. I can do that for periods of time, and I think the key with all of these things is to make them not such a commitment. Like one thing that can help is just not saying I have to have no mind now for the rest of my life. It's good to have a switch. Like, for example, um, I can turn off my emotions, and I can also turn them on, and I can make them more intense and less intense. And a lot of that is from tension in the body. So likewise with my mind, I can turn off my mind and have no mind, and then I can also turn it back on. Now, I'm not perfect at it yet, but I can, for stretches of time, have no mind. And yeah, and it's interesting. It's it's much more peaceful than having having a mind. My mind's not really chaotic at this point in my life, but the thing about no mind is it is very peaceful because there's just silence and you just hear the noises around you, and it's very interesting to just sit peacefully and just have no mind and just hear things and see things. So I guess I mean I don't know if I can really tell a person how to do it, but the one thing, if I was going to try to do that, would be to realize that you don't need your mind for a lot of things. If you're just sitting around, you don't really need your mind. I mean, the possible uses for your mind is entertainment purposes, if you're trying to figure something out, or you know delve deeply, or trying to think of some concepts or something like that, or you can use your mind to try to figure things out. But the mind is definitely a bit, can be overactive and used for purposes that are just not really useful. Like sometimes people's minds turn against them and start berating them and being nasty to them just on their own accord. Some people have very parasitic minds, but there is a way to have a healthy mind. You can just have a healthy mind and it's completely fine. But there's something about no mind that is pleasant. It's just it's just complete silence. But anyway, okay, I guess if you wanted to figure out how to do this, a lot of this kind of stuff is from untying emotional knots. That's the main thing to deepening in spirituality or deepening emotional growth and stuff like that. Untying the knots. When you solve the sufferings of the puzzles of suffering, the suffering goes away, your mind calms down, you feel more peace, and your mind doesn't feel like it has to constantly figure out something, because when an overactive mind would basically say, or mind did anyway, is I have to fix reality, or I have to fix myself. Excuse me. And I can't rest until everything is fixed and everything is in place the way I want it to be. And so that if you're fighting reality, if you're fighting what is, if you're fighting how the world is, how yourself is, how life is, how your life is, if you're fighting all of this constantly and just uh, trying to fix it endlessly, the answer is under your nose, which is um, the problem is not external, the problem is internal. The problem is itself the overactive mind and the lack of acceptance of reality. Um, when you accept reality and you accept yourself, sometimes this takes work. I think probably all the time it takes work to have unconditional self-love and to be able to accept reality. Um, but the work is useful. Just figuring out these suffering puzzles, gaining perspective on you know, why life is okay. Why, because the thing is, most of the time when your mind is overactive and there's this crazy, uh, masochism in your head and stuff like that, when all of this is happening, you got to real. I lost my thought. Hold on. You have to realize that it's a lot of the time when this is happening, you're usually, if you're thinking, if you have the time to think, you're sitting somewhere and there's not much going on, uh, because you're sitting and thinking, and that is the perfect time to have peace, not the perfect time to be frustrated. So that is the thing, is you have to accept peace. A lot of times people are addicted to pain. People don't realize it. Addicted to pain. And the way that you know that you're addicted to pain is if you cause yourself pain. If when you're sad you listen to sad music, and um, or depressing music and you're depressed, and or if you constantly get into drama with people and you're always looking for a fight, and or fights always come to you and you're just always getting frustrated. These things are drama. I'm not going to get into that, but when you put out something, when you put out frustration or reactions that are resistant, when you put that out, you will get it back. So frustration, all disharmony is a choice. All disharmony is a choice because it happens internally. The external can do what it wants. Your reaction to it is going to be how you feel. And if you allow yourself to feel all of this chaotic emotions based on the external reality, then things will find you that will induce these things, because you you can't try to control reality to fit your emotional state. You have to control your emotional state to cope and deal and be at peace with reality. You can't change reality. You can only change your emotional state, and that comes from a lot of work on yourself, um, realizing why it's unnecessary to feel pain, and it is unnecessary. I believe all pain is unnecessary, but that's just me. Maybe some people. I think the only reason that pain is a teacher for sure, but the only thing that it's teaching you is that you don't need it. That's the main thing that pain teaches, that you don't need it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of rambling here, but no mind is a beautiful thing when you have gotten over a lot of your issues and you can just realize that the mind is not really all that necessary all the time. Necessary sometimes. Sometimes if you're planning something or something, and you want to have want to analyze something or something, but a lot of times it's really not necessary, and you can just let it go, and you don't have to say, okay, from now on I'm going to be no mind all the time, never have a mind, and just you know you can turn it on and off. You can turn your emotions on and off. You can turn your mind on and off, and it's up to you what you want. I don't know if this was useful at all, uh, but I'm just sharing my experience, and if you have any questions, or just put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. There's also plenty of teachers on YouTube and in the world that talk about this kind of thing. So, see ya.